Hello everyone, my name is Molly and today we are here to talk about Riverdale Season 2, Episode 4. It was a very frustrating episode for me personally because Archie's decisions were just, and Jughead and everybody was just I can feel the tension building and it's just so frustrating. It's definitely getting more interesting. The mystery is getting a lot more intense. We're talking about serial killers now and it's just the town of Riverdale is going insane at the moment, but it's great and I love watching all the drama unfold. So this was a good episode and I highly recommend going to watch it if you haven't watched it already, but if you haven't seen it, I'm gonna say goodbye because I don't want to spoil anything, so goodbye! Alrighty. I really liked the opening with all the serial killers where Jughead was in the library and he was talking about the different kinds and they were appearing at the end of each row. I just thought that was really cool. I find serial killers kind of interesting. I mean, they're also terrible and I hate them, but it's also really interesting to learn about. So I just thought that was a cool opening. Then we jump to Alice, who of course is fanning the flame, trying to get everybody all riled up because she's Alice. And then Alice ends up yelling at Betty and showing her concern about Betty, talking about every time she doesn't pick up the phone, she thinks she's dead, and every time she walks out the door, she doesn't know if she's ever gonna see Betty again. And it was just a really sweet mother moment that we really don't get to see much with Alice. So it was really cool. It kind of humanized her a lot. Jughead goes and talks to the serpents and they're watching Archie's video, and I don't think they know that Archie and Jughead are basically brothers. And so they start talking about how they want Archie's head. He's this annoying North Sider blaming South Siders. He's just really pissed off, and so they're coming for Archie. And Jughead's no, we need to not worry about that. It's gonna be fine, but stay away from Archie, whatever. Being the good brother he is. And then we find out that the serpents actually like the killer. I forget exactly what they said, but they were a fan of it. They weren't opposed to it because it was killing North Siders, I think. And it was just really bad, and these serpents are not good, and Jug needs to get the hell away from them. We jump to a scene where Kevin and Betty are actually reconnected. Kevin just comes in, sits down, they start talking, and did I miss something? I thought Kevin was ignoring Betty, but now, we're buddies again. I was just kind of confused as to how that whole thing happened, but I'm not gonna question the gift that we were given because I love their friendship. Betty ends up showing Kevin the letter that she gets from the killer. Her speech inspired the killer. She is just so distraught by it. She just feels so guilty that, her speech was what inspired the killer to start killing. Having that burden on you, that's horrible, and I felt so bad for Betty. They end up showing the decoder thing with the location to Sheriff Keller, and Sheriff Keller's why did they send this to Betty and not Alice this time? And Alice is well, obviously he's scared of me. And I was just oh Alice. Oh, Alice, I love you. So the football team ends up getting suspended because of joining the Red Circle, and Reggie ends up being the voice of reason for the team, which made no sense to me because Reggie is a drug dealer who does not make good decisions, and all of a sudden he's the voice of reason, and I was just what? But I, agreed with everything that he was saying. So then we jump to a scene where Jughead ignores Betty's phone call. And I was honey, there is a serial killer on the loose. You guys are investigation partners. You need to pick up that phone. What if she's in trouble? What if she's somewhere and she needs you? Or just because it's your girlfriend and you have the opportunity to pick up the phone and you love her, you should do that. I was just, oh, Juggy. And then he works with Tony. He decides that, oh no, Tony's gonna be my new investigation partner. We're gonna figure this out. I was are you freaking kidding me? I get that you go to school with her and you want to be friends, and that's cool, that's great, whatever. But Betty is your investigation partner. She just called you. There's a serial killer on the loose. You can't just ignore Betty now that you don't go to their school anymore. It pissed me off so much because I feel it's not something Jughead would do. If Betty was in trouble, he'd get it. Then we cut to a cute scene with Veronica and Archie where Veronica is if it's your problem, then it's my problem. We're in this together. You need to talk to me. I'm gonna support you, but you need to tell me what's happening. And I just thought that was a really sweet moment. And then Veronica ends up making red circle shirts and gives them to everyone in the school to show their support for Archie. And I just thought it was a really sweet moment that I really enjoyed, and I'm happy at least one of the ships is sailing. Bughead eventually does get that phone call, and Betty is calling Jughead, or maybe she went over to his house, I can't remember at this point. But she's I'm hoping we could work on this together, and Jughead's yeah, totally. And I was like, well, actually, not so much, because he's already freaking working with Tony Topaz. Okay? It's fine. It's fine. I didn't believe them when they said she was going to be an issue for Bughead, but yet here we are. So they end up working together at Jug's house. It's Kevin, Betty, Jug, and Tony, and like Jug gets upset when he finds out that like Kevin knows, and I was like, honey, you didn't pick up your phone. Like, what was she supposed to do? Keep it to herself until you decided you were ready? Like, I was like, no, of course she told Kevin. Like, you can't be pissed about this. You freaking told Tony. And then Tony's like, oh, maybe you should loosen your tight little ponytail. And like, Betty's just like, what the hell? Who are you? And like, she just doesn't get it. And Kevin's like, the ponytail is her iconic look, so you need to chill. And I was like, Kevin, there is a reason why we love you. And Tony's just being really, really mean to them. Like, Betty never did anything to her. It's just because she's from the north side. And like, I don't get it, because if she wants to get in with Jug, like, obviously she should be good with Betty. And like, Betty's never done anything to her. And Betty's so sweet, and like, she just kind of brushes everything that Tony does off. And I feel like Jug should be like, hey, lady, listen, like, that's my girlfriend. She's okay, like, shut up, because that really pissed me off. Then Tony says, like, I gotta go home, and Kevin offers to walk her home because there is a serial killer on the loose, and Tony just, like, walks out and, like, gives him this dirty look, and I was like, dude, like, even though you've been a bitch to him all night, he's trying to help you, and you're being even more of a bitch. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Then friggin' Archie's walking down the street, and he's spray painting red circles everywhere on the south side, and he starts a friggin' turf war with the serpents. I was just... And then he pulls a gun on the serpents. Granted, one of them did have a knife, but like, did we really think this was gonna end well? Archie, what were you thinking? Finally, in this episode, we have a good Bughead scene where they fall asleep together and they wake up and like, they're together, and it was like really sweet. It was like 2 seconds long, but it was really, really cute, and I was really happy we got at least one happy moment between the two of them. And then we go to a scene where Jughead finds out about Betty's note, because Betty never told him about the note. I like their relationship because like, even though Betty didn't tell him, he like freaks out and then he is understanding about it, and I just... Thank you, Jug. And he ends up jumping her memory about like the Nancy Drew books, and we find out that Betty is not afraid that the town will blame her, but she's afraid Archie will blame her, and she's so scared about it. And I was like, oh, Betty, it's okay, we'll figure it out. Archie, speaking of him, sends Veronica, he's like, hey, can you do me a favor? Sends Veronica to get a loaded weapon that is being looked for. Like, he pulled a gun on the serpent, so like, he's in big trouble, and he sends Veronica to get the gun. I was like, seriously? Like, she could get caught with that weapon, and then so many bad things could happen to her. Like, what the hell are you thinking? But then, you know, Archie does have a really cute scene where it's like, I care about what happens to you, and stuff like that, and it was really sweet, because like, you know, Archie's so self-sacrificing lately, and we're like, honey, no. The serpents end up showing up at Archie's right after the football team does, and they open the door and invite the serpents in, and I was like, why? Couldn't we just like keep the door closed and pretend nothing is happening? And then the whole football team and the serpents are having like a showdown, and Veronica stands up to the serpents, and I was like, you go, girl. I was so proud of her. Then we go to the meeting of all the adults in town hall, and Alice is stirring trouble as usual. She's talking about how like, the South Sides are the one to blame, and like, we need to shut down their school, and I didn't even understand half the things that she was saying, because I was like, that makes no sense, Alice. Like, you're just trying to cause drama. Fred gets up, and you know, even though he was shot by whoever this killer is, he's like, no, we need to stop, we need to think about this, we can't divide the towns. And I was really proud of Fred, and I love Fred. He's my favorite parent. I'm happy he didn't die. So the football team versus the serpents, they were getting their butts kicked by the serpents. It was bad. It was not going to end well. I knew that. And then Veronica shows up, and she ends up shooting the gun and scaring them off. That scene was just really, really a bad idea to begin with. Like, why are we having a showdown with the serpents? Just please stop. Everybody chill a little bit, okay? Thank you. Thank God Veronica showed up, or they would have been in big trouble. But at the same time, I also worry about Veronica now, because she has fired a gun. Like, if somebody saw her, or if they tested her for like the gun residue or whatever, like, it's not gonna be pretty. Bughead ends up figuring out the code, they crack the code, and they run down to town hall and are like, guys, like, it's here, it's happening, and nobody listens to them. Nobody listens to Buckhead. And it was like, at this point, they were the ones who found the killers originally. Like, they're the ones who got the note. Like, trust them. If there's any threat of a serial killer making his next kill in the room I'm sitting in, I'm gonna leave. And then they pull the fire alarm and everybody runs out. I'm like, obviously Betty was the one that just pulled the fire alarm. So you're listening to the fire alarm, but not her. Like, it was just really. During the fight, one of the kids ends up getting stabbed, and the football team decides to lie about the stabbing and say, oh, we were just walking down the street and the Southside Serpents attacked us. And I was like, oh dear Lord, this is not good. This is not good at all, because now we're blaming the serpents and we're making them villains out of thin air. Like, they're just appearing. There was no antagonizing, there was no fighting beforehand. It was just like, yep, they just came up and stabbed us. So that's going to put an even bigger divide between the towns, and it's just not going to be pretty, and I was not happy with that. Veronica and Archie do end up throwing the gun into the river, though, which was very exciting, because at least that thing is gone. I mean, it probably will come in handy since there is a serial killer, but it's good that we got rid of it. We don't have to worry about that drama anymore. So, the promo for next week has my heart beating pretty fast, because the killer ends up calling Betty and is like, you need to cut everyone out of your life. I have her. She's gonna get hurt if you don't do what I tell you to. Now, I have many theories. My first theory is that the her they're talking about is obviously Polly, and Betty is going to break up with Jughead and distance herself from her friends because she's worried about them. And I'm really, really hoping that Jughead is smart enough to be like, obviously there's a reason behind this breakup, and like he'll be the one to figure it out and be like, no, Betty, we're not breaking up, like it's gonna be okay. Those are my hopes and theories for next week, but I think it'll be a very interesting and very exciting and heart-wrenching episode. So those are my thoughts on episode 4. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode down below. If you have any theories as to who the killer is, I still think it's her brother. Or if you have any theories about next week, who's getting captured, will they break up? There's so many questions, and I'm really, really excited to see where the rest of this season goes. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're interested in any of my previous episode talks, make sure to check those out. They'll be linked down below, as well as all my other episode talks for all the other shows that I talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I try to upload a video every week. If you like my videos, then subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!